Hello everybody, my name is Victor and I am the founder of the program Addictionless because that is what I am. I used to be a heroin addict, a cigarette smoker, a drinker, all those things, and now I am free of all of that, and I have been for about 12 years. Well, I've been free of heroin for 12 years and free of smoking for about 10 years. And my methods are a little bit unconventional. They're not too wishy-washy, but I didn't follow your typical 12-step program, although I did do that in the beginning and it helped me quite a bit, but I eventually broke away from it because I found that I had my own reasons, basically, because I found that the underlying principles were far more important than like the rigid, dogmatic adherence to these rules. Again, it came down to more about what I'm going to talk about in this video, this one important essential thing that is unfortunately the hardest thing to get, and that is mindfulness. Now, what is mindfulness? Well, I'll tell you what is not mindfulness. It's addiction. The exhibiting of the behaviors associated with addiction are usually they're like completely unconscious behaviors. They're just, you're almost taken over by the forces of the momentum of your addiction. Am I right? There's not really a lot of real weighing the pros and cons. It's just about you have an urge, a physical, mental, just an urge and a void that that is so uncomfortable and agitating and painful that you'll do anything to fill it. And we've just conditioned our minds to eliminate that sensation, which is awful, by using drugs or even people. I'm also a personal trainer and own a boot camp, and a lot of the people that come to see me are food addicts, so it can be anything. I happen to have discovered heroin was the fastest method to relieving that. But of course, it came at a price. Now, mindfulness, that's something that is a bit of a skill that most human beings lack nowadays, and you could see this if you just look around, go around anywhere. Most people are on their phone. They're kind of exhibiting these little unconscious behaviors constantly. We're in a situation where there's a stimulation overload with the TVs, the media, the iPhones, and there's an iPhone, by the way, but anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Facebook, people are constantly looking for little quick fixes in food and cigarettes and drugs and alcohol. And there does exist a much more fulfilling and satisfying sense and state of tranquility and peace that is more just a better feeling than the short-term pleasures that you get with drugs. But in order to develop that, you have to develop your mindfulness. And there's a lot of different ways to do this. I used to meditate quite a bit, and that is certainly a quick way of doing that. And that meditation doesn't have to be, you know, woo-woo or airy-fairy. It could be simply taking 5 minutes a day and sitting upright and just breathing, and not even trying to breathe a certain way. Just focus your attention on your breathing. That will really help you develop mindfulness. And when you're in a very mindful state, you're much more centered, much more grounded, and much more less likely to kind of jump and let those urges take you over. Because in the beginning, when you quit whatever your drug of choice is, those urges are going to come on hard, and they're going to come on very often. And if you're not grounded, if you're not doing everything you can to ground yourself, you're going to get swept away. And all it takes is one time, because once you get swept away and you relapse, then it's like it's hit and miss. Some people, you know, I can't tell you how many people I've known who have died or are just still caught up in the grips or have gotten sent to jail for a long, long period of time. And even if they come out, they're even more messed up than when they went in. And it just makes it just envelopes them in too much darkness and negativity to where the likelihood of them ever getting out of it is becoming more and more unlikely, unfortunately. It's sad. But you can start doing this now, in this very moment. Just start noticing your breathing. Become aware of your breath. You could do yoga. You could do anything that you really enjoy. I've found it very interesting that the addicts that I would communicate with, you know, and I went to these meetings and I was a sponsor and I did all that stuff for several years. I used to open up the churches. I was very involved. And I would meet some fascinating people, some just really talented, amazing people. And I bet that if a lot of them were just to kind of follow their passion, and my passion is this, is making videos and sharing and helping people. I have other channels too. I have a fitness channel. I have several channels where I just share my content, share my experience, because I know it can benefit people. And that makes me feel so good that now that I'm aligned with that passion, I don't need to go back to drugs or anything, because the need is gone. The desire is gone. It's not a struggle. The urges don't come over me ever. Honestly, they're gone. But it all started with mindfulness. You can't let those urges take you over, and you got to do whatever works for you. You better figure it out quick that can keep you in a mindful state. And what comes with this is where the real challenge comes in, and this is why I believe many people fail, because when you become very mindful and then that urge comes on, it's even more intense. It seems more powerful, and it's very hard. It's like this internal pressure, literally like a magnet pulling you towards your drug of choice. And you not only, you can't distract yourself from it. Like, okay, well, I'm not gonna go do that, but I'm gonna go and I'm gonna surf the internet aimlessly, or I'm gonna smoke cigarettes. A lot of the people I'm meeting are freaking coffee fiends and chain smokers, and those are addictions too. That's not healthy. I'm talking about freedom from addiction. I'm not talking about replacing it with more socially acceptable and a little bit less toxic addictions. I'm talking about freedom. And if you want to be free of your addiction, you must become a conscious person. And the only way to do that is to find what puts you in that state of awareness. And it could be any of those things: yoga, meditation, painting, taking pictures, whatever your passion is, man. Usually it could be anything. Go out in nature. You better do that, okay? I found that this is more important than any of the steps. Your meeting, 90 meetings, 90 days, fine. If that works for you, great. But again, don't get caught up in the dogma of the meeting, because they will let you down. I can't tell you how many people I met with major chunks of clean time that all of a sudden they don't make a meeting and then they're gone. They screw up because they bind themselves to the dogma of the AA and NA groups, because they choose to believe in it so strongly that they don't rely on their own self-power. And that's my primary disagreement with the meetings, is that we do have the power. We just don't use the power over our addiction. We allow it to control us. And you're right, when under the influence, you are out of control. Then it becomes impossible. But when you're away from it, now it's a choice. What are you gonna do about it? Yeah, you have the power. I have the power. Oh, I mean, you might think, oh, it's just a matter of time. Well, I've been doing it for 12 years, so, and I have a happy family, I have children, I have a house, I have lucrative careers that I'm helping people. I'm a very happy person. I don't surround myself with anybody who's doing those things, so we'll just have to wait and see, won't we? Anyway, so please, guys, if you want to conquer your addiction, work on your mindfulness and believe it's possible. Even if you relapse 1,000 times, I've been to 50 rehabs, it does not matter. I've been to a half a dozen rehabs, I've been locked up, I've gone to different halfway houses, I've done all sorts of shit. But once I started to truly open myself up to the possibility of it being a real, tangible, attainable goal to be clean and happy, and I also worked on my mindfulness, as I mentioned, in my own way, which for me, it was just being very introspective. I ended up going to a halfway house where I had a lot of time just to think and to kind of be with my own self and I had therapy, and I allowed these urges to come and go, and I just started, instead of acting on them, I started to just kind of witness them from like an outside perspective. And when you can kind of step back and say, oh wow, this is going on inside of me, instead of just letting it take you over, then you get to see it for what it is, which is almost, in a sense, an external outside entity that is coming in and trying to like overcome you. But you can resist that simply by allowing it to be there. It's kind of a paradox. So develop that mindfulness, guys. And if you enjoyed this video or got anything out of it, please share. If you have any people that you know are struggling, I'm gonna make a video every single day. I hope to stick with that. My goal is to do a video a day for the next year. And just talking about my techniques, some tips I have, and just sharing my experience with you guys so that you might be able to be helped. Because I know that I'm a little bit too rebellious in nature to allow myself to be so confined to such a dogmatic and unexamined and rigid system such as the 12-step program. There's so many holes in it, there's so many flaws in it. The majority of the people don't really walk the walk. They just like to talk shit and point their fat fingers at everybody else. So there's a lot of holes in it. So if you went there and be like, dude, this is bullshit, but at the same time they're telling you this is the only way, this is the only thing available, then don't walk away thinking that's the case, because it's absolutely not. I'm living proof. My wife is living proof. She has about 10 years clean, and she did the exact same thing. She does what I do. We don't go to meetings. We don't do any of that. But I want to give back because there's a good, that's why I'm doing this, because I felt the need to start giving back and sharing and trying to help my fellow addicts. I know how rare it is to actually overcome it. So with that, I'll close. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this. Subscribe if you want to take this journey with me, where I kind of unravel my whole process that allowed me to stay not only clean, but free of addiction, addictionless. Okay, thank you very much, guys. Peace.